Hey guys, Albe here again with another member of the R9T family. In this case, we're gonna make a review of the R9T Urban GS. But without further ado, let's see what this bike has. If you look closely at this bike, and if you've been looking at BMW GSs throughout the past 40 years, you might see a resemblance to the original GS, which was the R80 GS. Hence the tall fender up front, the red seat, and the BMW color. Now, the similarities and there, it just looks like the original GS. The original GS was a great bike, but that was 40 years ago, more or less. This one is a modern bike, so you get all the perks and reliability of a motorcycle that is a 2018 bike. Before I tell you what this bike is, let's make sure you guys understand what this bike is not. As much as this is a GS, this is really not an off-road bike. Yes, you're gonna be able to do some graded fire road, you can get some dirt, maybe your driveway is dirt and you're gonna do just fine. But don't mistake, this is not an off-road bike. If you take it to a little bit more technical off-road, unless you have met skills, this is probably not the bike for you, even if you put knobby tires on it. Another thing this bike is not is a race bike. Why do I claim that this bike is actually not a race bike? Well, other than the way the bike looks, and even if the engine gives you 110 horses and 85 foot-pound of torque, you even have a steering damper up front, still the bike is higher than the rest of the R9T family. And unlike the original R9T, the suspensions are not adjustable. You have telescopic forks up front, and you have a shock in the back which is adjustable for rebound and preload only. Now that we got out of the way what this bike is not, let's start checking out what this bike actually is. What this bike is a proper BMW. You get the 1170cc engine, twin opposed, air-cooled, the previous generation from the engine that is in the actual big R1200 GS right now. Another thing you get is a drive shaft in the back, proper BMW drive shaft, and incredible quality and attention to details. The paint is perfect. All the surfaces, even the plastics, are of great quality. So that is what you get. So you have obviously hydraulic brakes, front and back, which nowadays is almost standard, and you have 320 millimeters double disc up front and a smaller disc in the back. The front calipers are Brembo. They're not monoblock, but they give you plenty of stopping power, especially for this bike. And being an R9T, you get all the customization opportunity that the R9T family gets. So you don't like the covers over here, you can replace it. You don't like the seat, this bike actually has the option of a single seat with a cargo rack in the back. You can actually remove the little subframe, or if you are unsure if your passenger is going to be with you or not, you can leave the subframe and still the cargo and be able to replace the cargo rack with the little rear seat. This bike is 487 pounds with a 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel. The 19-inch front wheel gives you the possibility to tackle a very, very mild off-road, or better yet, give you the ability to tackle a few fire roads here and there. In the usual BMW fashion, you get heated grips, ABS as standard, traction control as an option, and on this specific model you have optional spoke wheels and adjustable brake and clutch lever. When it comes to the instrument cluster, the bike comes with a single round gauge with a little LCD display at the bottom. Now, this being a member of the R9T family, you can always have the option to put two of them. As a matter of fact, right now it's very simple. It's just the tachometer with the LCD on the bottom that gives you a few different parameters like the mileage, the trip, the engine temperature, and the time. There are two things that distinguish this R9T from all the others. First of all, in my opinion, this one has the most comfortable riding position. Second of all, the exhaust note. The exhaust note on this bike, I believe, is one of the best. The double can doesn't quite give you the pop that this bike gives you. Speaking of riding position, let's go ride it and see how it goes.
As you guys can see, this is not the usual road where I go test bikes. But the reason is because this is where this bike shines the best, on long, wide sweepers, nice, straight, where you can keep a nice pace, but at the same time, relax and enjoy what's going on around you. Right from the get-go, you can tell that this bike is probably the most comfortable between the R9Ts, and this is definitely one of the most comfortable bikes when it comes to resto mods. The pegs are down there exactly where they're supposed to be. They're not too far back or too far forward. And the handlebar are nice and wide, and they're tilted towards you just enough to make it a relaxed ride. Other than that, even if the front suspensions are not adjustable, they're tuned for this type of riding, this nice, calm, relaxing riding. It soaks most of the bumps pretty good, and at the same time you can adjust the preload and the rebound in the back, so you have a little bit of adjustment where most of the weight is. Speaking of weight, this is definitely not a light bike at 485 pounds, but because in BMW fashion most of the weight is sling down low because of the big beautiful engine over there, the bike doesn't feel heavy at all. When it comes to the engine is it's a beauty. 1170 cc's give you enough power to just open up and just unleash anytime you feel like, while at the same time being very composed at low speed on a cruising situation. The engine is topped off by the fantastic exhaust sound. As I said, one of my favorites between the R9Ts. Let's see if you guys can hear. Yep, that's it. There is a little bit of wind protection up front due to this, but my helmet is in the clear, therefore I'm getting most of the air, as well as a little bit on my chest is getting some air, which is good in hot weather. But past my chest, from my chest down, there is a little bit of protection, which is always nice. The rear view mirrors are very good. They're the standard R9T rear view mirror, round and clear enough to see what's going on behind you. And when it comes to the brakes, you have a lot of stopping power. For example, let me take a look who's behind me. Nobody's behind me, so let's grab a handful of brake and see what's going on. Oh yeah, plenty of braking power and plenty of go power. Other than that, you get the usual amenities, heated grips over here. On the other side you have the trip to change the trip on the little display. over there, and you have ABS and in this specific bike traction control that can be deactivated with the touch of a button. Right there, deactivated, and back on. It's a very comfortable ride. I don't know if I would take it on a long ride, but for short daily ride it's definitely very comfortable. And if you really want to give it to it and you want to start pushing, it holds the road just like any other BMW. All in all, this is a pretty great bike. As I said multiple times, those two-cylinder heads popping out on the side are very appealing to me. I would buy this bike just because of the engine configuration. The instrument cluster is very simple. You only have the speed and a few information down the bottom that you can change. With a touch of a button. Now, I would like to have this area over here indicating what gear I'm in, rather than wasting the space with the service reminder that stays on the whole time if you need to go get service. Another thing that this bike lacks is a fuel gauge. Even if, just like the old school bike, you do have a fuel light, so as you're running out of fuel, you'll figure that out real quick. Other than that, it's very clean, very neat, and if you don't like it, you always have the option to add in a second gauge over there with a few more options on it.
We're back over here after the ride. In conclusion, the bike looks great because this bike undoubtedly looks great, especially with the high fender up front. When you're riding, you see the high fender, you're not quite sure what you're on, but it makes an entrance. This bike definitely makes an entrance. Looks great and rides fantastic. It's super comfortable to ride. It gives you that relaxed, I don't care type of ride where you can just slow down and enjoy. Now, you can add luggage to this bike and take it on a farther trip, or you can put knobby tires and do a few fire roads here and there. So it's very versatile. And at this price for a BMW, it's a bargain, especially with the fantastic engine down there. As always, many thanks to BMW Motorcycles of Riverside that lent me the bike for a few days and made this review possible. Go see Jeff and Robin because they're gonna give you the best deal they can. Not only that, if you guys mention that you've seen this bike, this very bike on this review, they're gonna give you an extra discount and make it even sweeter to own one of these bikes. So go check them out in Riverside on Indiana. Other than that, go get yourself one of those fantastic Albe ADV shirts. And if you like the video, if you love the video, subscribe. If you don't quite love the video, leave a comment down below, let me know why. And subscribe anyway, because with your help, maybe I'll get better at this. In the meantime, ride on, and I'll see you next time.